Hey everyone, happy Saturday night. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for joining me here. If you haven't already, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe too. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. We're covering obviously a very serious case here tonight. I've been following it all week long. The kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, the apparent kidnapping, that is, of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie. And this is a really crazy case. When this first broke early Monday morning, it appeared we didn't really know much other than it looked suspicious. This was not a woman who may have wandered off away from her home because of dementia or something else like that. But now we know that this apparently appears to be a kidnapping, a very legitimate and serious kidnapping. And I'm going to tell you why. I was planning to recap what we know so far, but just in the last 25, 30 minutes or so, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings, her older sister Annie and her brother Cameron, have released a new video on Instagram. This followed two other videos that they had released. They had released another video earlier in the week in which it was about 4 minutes long. Savannah did most of the talking. It was scripted. I am sure the FBI orchestrated this, oversaw this, the language, etc. And they pleaded for the return of their mother. Then Cameron released a video on Savannah's Facebook and Instagram pages. Now, after another note from the alleged kidnapper was sent to a TV station, this followed these notes being sent, demanding money, Bitcoin, etc. This note came in yesterday, Friday, to KOLD-TV, KOLD. They just put out this new video. I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to bring in two experts to talk about this because they really know what to talk about with this. And then we'll go back and look at the other two videos that were released earlier in the week and then the timeline in this case. So let's look at this video just posted in the last 30 minutes or so to Savannah Guthrie's personal Instagram and Facebook pages.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Okay, so to discuss this, I want to bring in Mike Alcazar. He's a retired NYPD detective, and also Dave Sarni, a retired NYPD detective. Thanks to both of you guys for coming on tonight. I don't know if we expected this. Mike, this follows notes being sent to, or messages or notes, whatever you want to call them, being sent to TMZ, one to K-Gun, a local TV station, one to KOLD-TV. They didn't publicize it. They said on Monday when they received it, they turned it over to the cops. Then TMZ got one. They broadcast it. And then now Friday, there was a deadline yesterday on the note. So the first video Savannah put out with her siblings was longer. They were trying to appeal to the humanity, in my opinion, of the kidnapper, and to send a message to their mom to stay strong. What do you make of this latest short and sweet 26-second video?
Oh my God, I think it's tragic. We saw that she wasn't reading. I don't even think it's scripted. I'm sure she had to stay calm, but I think that, they receive, to me, I think they receive terrible news, and now they're just trying to get the return of their mom so that they can celebrate. She said, I think her exact quote was that, we can celebrate with her, and this is how our family will, this is the only way our family will have peace. So to me, that signals that, her mother passed, and there's no need to verify that this is a legitimate abductor. Apparently that's the case now. And, we want the return of Nancy.
Dave, I'm wondering what you think too, because listening to her, seeing Annie choking up, trying to stay composed, it makes me wonder if it's indicating as well, saying we want you to return her so we can celebrate. That could mean celebration of life, as in a funeral, or it could mean celebrate a reunion. But we know she was without medication. I, I, what are your feelings on this latest video?
It just the word celebrate gives a lot of things. You can see this, the emotion when they say it. This is something that they never got proof of life prior. I don't know what's in the note directly to them, that they said, we understand. We want to celebrate. So is this going to be obviously a recovery as opposed to a reunion? And that's what you're looking at, just based on what you're hearing in that. It seems that we understand. So that's, it doesn't seem like there is dealing with they'll pay whatever. But it sounds like this may not end the way they wished it to end. That's what it comes down to. The next step is going to be, they're still doing all this work and they still haven't been able to locate her. So I don't know what the next note will include about anything else.
The only thing I can imagine, and we'll replay this video in a minute. I see some people in the comments saying, where's the new video? This new video is, as I said, unlike the first video that came out. The first video was over 4 minutes. They were trying to appeal to this person's humanity. I'm going to play that here shortly. But this new video is short and sweet. We received the message. We understand. We will pay. So they're saying, we will pay you the money. We'll give you the money, Mike. What do you make of that? My God, I mean, how are they going to pay this money? It almost sounds as if they haven't received instructions. We know the one guy was a scammer, the Bitcoin guy out of California. So maybe there is no Bitcoin wallet associated with these other notes. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the abductors are still trying to get money from her, or she just wants to ensure the return of her mom. So she put that statement out that they're willing to pay. Now they could have dictated that, or just something maybe she wanted to ensure the return of her mom. Hopefully, they comply, and it's really sad. I'm a little bit at a loss for words, because what a brave statement that they made. You can see that the sister was really upset.
Yeah.
The brother was a little bit stoic. So it's very sad.
Let's, Dave, one thing that was interesting to me, and we'll get into more of this. I'm going to play the video again because a lot of people are asking to see it again. One thing that's interesting to me about this is the fact that last night, after KOLD got the note, and we don't know if all of these things are connected, but this is an investigation where the feds are now all in. We knew they were involved early in the week, but now, they've gotten more resources. They may have had to have flown people in from around the country to come in. The Phoenix office, I don't think has, everybody. Maybe they do have everybody needed to address something like this. But we know they went back to the house yesterday. They climbed up on the roof. They got a camera that they hadn't retrieved before. They went to a Circle K and I think another gas station. They got video footage from these places looking for a vehicle. This is giving me Idaho vibes a little bit, because they're trying to obviously figure out what vehicle, or if there was a vehicle of interest in the area at the time or around the time that this abduction took place. Then 3 deputies show up at Annie's house. They're there only for a very short time. What does all of that tell you? Could the deputies only being there for a very short time just have been to simply update them about something? Because I can't imagine you just send 3 deputies there to discuss this new note with them.
You could. I mean, it really comes down to is the cooperation and the working communication with the family is extremely important, and you don't always go alone. So it's not gonna be one detective, one investigator, one sheriff. There'll be several. There'll be a couple, and this is what happened. You had 3. What they're trying to do is get, this is why we always backtrack, and we have where the incident took place was the house. That's the crime scene, and now you're getting information from prior times during this unusual vehicle, this unknown vehicle in the area that no one knew about, a van. And now they're just trying to track based on the time frame they established around. First it was a 14-hour time frame. Now you're looking at maybe about a 10-hour time frame. So they're going to try to coordinate all of this and seeing if they can pinpoint and actually trace back to where this vehicle was, because this vehicle was at the location at the time of this abduction. Now you're gonna go from that point post incident and try and track it some other way, which is through the cameras of all the gas stations in the area and seeing if something comes out of those videos.
Let's watch the video again.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
I'm going to back it up one more time. And people are saying there's something with the echo. I've checked the echo cancellation, everybody. Dave and Mike, do you have any echo issues on your end?
I'm good.
I'm not hearing anything like that, no, myself.
Okay.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Dave, watching that 2 times in a row now, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, you're sounding very conciliatory. They're sounding like, there's no proof of life at this point. We want her returned. It's not we want her back. It's kind of, I have a feeling what they've received is information to say that, and again, this is, you're only speculation. This is what you're dealing with. They need information to find where she is. And I don't think what you're going to find is a celebration. I think this is where you see a celebration of life and the payment to find out where she is and where her body is. I mean, that's what it sounds like, just based on the tone that they're having. We understand we can't get peace unless we don't have peace, and I think that's what it comes down to, closure. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, what you're hearing. I know the investigators are still working. We don't know. This is one angle that investigators are working based on the belief that this note is valid, and that's what they're doing right now. So, they're trying to get information, maybe just to locate where she is somewhere.
Mike, this was a kidnapping. There were a lot of questions about the legitimacy of whether this was a legit kidnapping. And I mean, we didn't know what they were dealing with. It looked like a kidnapping. You just didn't know what was going on with this. But if this was somebody thinking they could just break in, abduct Nancy Guthrie because she had a wealthy daughter, send a ransom note, then get money, and that wasn't paid and Nancy passed away, I mean, that's what in the world has gone on here? I mean, we don't know exactly what those first notes said. We just know they were sent to TMZ and they were sent to the TV stations. So what do you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, as of this point, right, there's still no way to contact them. They still have to send it out to Instagram. They're just receiving notes. So I was thinking about this. I still got a couple of theories. I don't know if this was planned or if it was a burglary that went bad. Did they really plan to abduct this 84-year-old woman and try to keep her alive while they're trying to get money? I mean, it doesn't sound very carefully thought out. And it would seem that it would be very challenging. So again, we don't know what kind of information they have right now, what they're working with. I'm assuming the poor family and the FBI probably got like images to confirm their mom. And now, like Dave said, it's, they're just trying to appease them so that they can return the body. We still don't know. They might still not do that, right? They might just abandon, if she is in fact dead, they might just abandon her, and then the investigators will still have to try to track down where she is. So it's still a lot of moving parts. It's still very challenging. We're nowhere near the finish line with this case.
Now I want to put up the first video that went out. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to watch that. This is 4 minutes long. And I know that the FBI likely helped them write this or did write this based on everything that they said.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She is funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
We want to thank all of you for the
What did you and we'll watch that again. What did you I'll start with you, Dave. What did you think of that when that first came out?
Yeah, that seems they were believing that she was abducted by somebody and they just want her back. And you could feel it seemed more as hurt as they are and as painful as it is, they seem to have more hope. You can hear the voice of hope in there that we want to see you return and we can hug you. And if you compare it to the last video, it's definitely a total turn in the emotion that you're having. Even though it's still a painful thing, it's almost resolved in unfortunately a very bad way. As a detective, we work the case regardless. Our feelings aren't necessarily should not be involved in this. We work with this with due diligence and to do what's right and to find her. But we knew time was running out for a while at this point because of the medication that she needed. So was this a thought out abduction? I always go back to the whys and whys. Why that night? She just came from dinner that night. Were they sitting there waiting for her to come in, or they just decided to go that night to do it? Everyone knows how to make the plan to do things. It's the aftermath that I think fell apart, maybe with these abductors, where they did not know what to do. And that's why we may, unfortunately, not have the positive results that we want. It's sad to see, and I feel for the family. I really do, and that's what detectives do. We work for the victim. We want to get to the truth, and we want to find the people, the persons involved in this, one way or another.
Mike, do you think that precious time was lost early in this investigation? It does seem like there have been some missteps.
Yeah, I hate Monday morning quarterbacking other agencies, but I just want to make a comment on the video. You can see the stark difference there, right? From the first video, the children, Savannah, they are talking to their mother. All the kids are talking to their mother. And in this recent video, there's no message to the mom. So I think that signals that, she's met her demise, and it's so tragic. It's so sad. I'm reading the comments, and some of your followers don't even watch the video again because it's so powerful. It's so sad. Like Dave said, I really feel for this family, because for them, they must be so frustrated. There's no one they can talk to, and they just got to put it out there on Instagram and hoping these bad guys would respond to them and return their mother. These are bad people, and we hope to capture them. That being said, yes, just watching them reopen the crime scene, I think it was a mistake releasing the crime scene initially, and then you get a message and maybe a clue, and now you're going to go revisit. You're going to go up on the roof. You're going to check out the car. That's one thing we try not to do when we have a crime scene. We're not going to release it. We're going to process it completely. We're going to gather evidence and maybe revisit it again and process more evidence. We've seen this happen too many times. You talked about the Koberger case, right? Same thing. They demolished that house even before the trial, in Canton PD, the way they process that crime scene. Unfortunately, not every agency has the ability, and they need help from other agencies to process crime scene. And I feel like, a lot of these police departments need a little help. So yeah, a few missteps, maybe too quick to go to the press with no information. That sheriff just got on there. He really has nothing. He almost looked unprofessional. He's like, I don't know. Is there one or two people? Oh, I have no idea. You're the professional. Why are you getting up there if you don't have any information? Again, they could be just playing their cards close to their vest. But especially, the clock was ticking. I feel like, there was some missteps in this investigation.
I want to look at this video again, the new video, before we move on to what's happened in the last 24 hours.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Dave, do you think the FBI is sitting there and basically told Savannah what to say? Because I do believe the FBI dictated heavily what they said in the first two videos.
Yeah. The FBI loves scripts. They are scripted, and that's how they work. And I will say, what they did is just keep it short, sweet. This is what we have. That's why you don't see as much emotion in what they're saying. It's very quick to the point, because you can see, again, physically you can see the issues that you have. The family, it's almost in mourning, as opposed to the beginning when it was more concern. It seems more of a mourning position in the way that they're holding each other. You feel, again, this is what the FBI is doing their job. They're doing they've put out there, they've tried to triangulate the cell phones. Again, I had questions of the crime scene. I'm a case detective. My lead detective, I never shut that crime scene down because that's the only place where she was. We have no other place where she is afterwards. So what was the rush for it? That's up to whoever made the decision. It's on them. But when you have we have nothing to go on. That's your point of contact. That's the last place. That is a top to bottom, stem to stern, grid search. Whatever you need to do, as many bodies you can put onto that room. That's what I would have done. This scene, could this have been avoided? I believe that the people involved planned it well. They did not plan the aftermath, and that's the thing with investigations. You're looking at a 10-hour time frame. The family is devastated, and the family seems to be more in mourning than they are about, we want her back, she can hug. It is not that way right now. And it's really up to the investigators to continue the work they're doing to find who was involved. And the thing is, it looks like they're looking to pay, and I said it before, looking to pay for information, not about proof of life. It's about proof of where her mom is.
Mike, do you think that, do you think the progress is going to be slow on tracking this person? Because, if they had a burner phone, we don't know if they had their own cell phone at the crime scene. We don't even know if they had a burner phone at the crime scene. I'm assuming they did, but I don't know that. Do you think that they are going with license plate readers and possibly surveillance video? Is it going to be slow going, trying to possibly piece together a path if they do find this so-called vehicle of interest? And I know Mike Ruiz from Fox Digital reported earlier today that at one of the gas stations, they told an employee, we're looking for a man who got away. So that was his reporting. So is this going to be slow going, trying to piece it together?
Yeah, it would appear that way. They're going to check surveillance. They're going to run the LPRs. They're probably going to go further back. These bad guys are not really leaving breadcrumbs. When you see that statement from Savannah, it's almost like, they look defeated, and I don't know if the FBI is any closer. Again, they're not disclosing a lot of information. I hope they have a lot of information. The only thing we can rely on right now is processing that crime scene. That crime scene is a wealth of information. There's going to be a lot of evidence there, and they're going to have to process it to hopefully identify. There has to be, right, Dave? There's got to be evidence in there. If there was a struggle, if somebody abducted her, there's got to be fibers. There's got to be footprints. There's got to be imprints. There's got to be sweat. That's why it's key to maintain. It's a little bit frustrating. I sound frustrated, but you have to maintain that crime scene. I really feel like they dropped the ball. Now, this is a desolate area, so maybe, they can't rely too much on like cameras like New York City, so they have to rely on Ring cameras or whatever cameras they have in the closest gas station, anything, supermarket. So, yeah, it seems like they're going to, I think it's a struggle. The only thing they can hope for is that these abductors comply and, let them know where their mom is, so it's sad.
Dave, what do you think?
You would expect an injury, and they found the DNA on the blood, the DNA from the blood in front of the house belonging to Natalie, to Guthrie's mom. And if there's an injury, something caused that injury. And that's why, if you're the investigator, and I would be pounding my hands down, screaming, "We keep this place sealed." Once you had, the media get involved and get engaged with the place, you lose the crime scene. Everything there is tainted. And I don't care. They brought the dog back. The FBI comes back. That scene was not necessarily needed to be broken down. That was her own. That was the house where everything could be. Now I understand the friend when they found her missing, when she didn't go to church, they drove their cars, so any tire tracks that you find there would be confused and all messed up. We could understand that. They're going to the scene. If they're and they've never discussed the point of entry to the house. Was it forcible, not forcible, or non-forcible? They've never said either way. They've even said the type of access, what access they've had to really specifically. They've played, yes, it may have been, it may not have been. That's fine, because you know what? That is a clue in itself to tell people about forcible entries. Those things come in. You don't give everything out, but it seemed that they dropped it on that point alone, and that's where the chance of anything you get of the abductors and of what happened in that house. And once you give that house up, you can't go back to it and say, well, we're going to go back and do this. I'll tell you this, I no detectives are this way. It's your case. You're going to have a team of investigators around it. It's your case. That crime scene gets open when you make the decision. I'm opening it. So I don't know if the detective made a decision or someone else did, but there was no necessity to do that. That was where everything is. The Ring camera that they had was removed. She didn't have the subscription. And the thing about Ring cameras, if you don't have the subscription, they don't hold for a day. They just run over it. The video runs over itself. And they're only fixed points where these cameras can capture. So, we depend on technology a lot, but tech is only as good as where it's placed and whether it's operational. And if it's, operational and is it retrievable? That's why that's why FBI got in to start looking for the cell phones and trying to work on the phones themselves. So these are things, and that's, the pacemaker going down. That was a clue to yourself that why would that do? And that's when you have to confer, like, why would that go down? And these cases aren't just done by one detective. Teams of investigators go around and they bang out ideas and possible reasons of this happened, what happened with this, what happened this, but they have to support it with the truth and the facts involved, because detectives are the ones, and Michael concur with this, we're the only ones who look for the truth in these cases.
I have to think, even though Nancy Guthrie is an 84-year-old woman, Savannah described her in the one video as spunky. I can't imagine, her blood was right outside the door. The sheriff said it was her DNA. I can't imagine that she didn't put up a fight. Even at 84, she probably struggled. There probably are signs of a struggle in that house. So there could be other DNA unrelated to her family and friends and her in that house. And now if we're going to have a conviction, if we're going to have a prosecution rather for a homicide here, along with a kidnapping, this could put that in jeopardy potentially. And I'm going to ask you guys both about that, Mike. Releasing that crime scene, I was shocked when I saw, Brian. I know Brian Etten. He's going to go up there if he can get access. All of us are going to kind of walk and nose around and see what we can see. It's just the reporter in us. But I couldn't believe it when I saw that there wasn't a cruiser sitting out there and yellow tape still up in case they needed to go back in.
Yeah, there was an Amazon package on the scene. Like, was that delivered after they released the crime scene? That makes no sense, because if that package was there, that should have been vouchered, right? That could be potential evidence. That could be a witness, right? These are things we look for. Absolutely. If there's blood, there was definitely struggle. There's palm prints, fingerprints on the door, on the walls, anything. And they may well have that, Angenette. They may well have that information, and they might just be processing it. And they got to do elimination prints because it's a household. She had a lot of people working with her. So I get it. They're working through that. And again, it's all for prosecution. So again, I hate Monday morning quarterbacking them. It just because maybe of the lack of information, I feel like they kind of just bungled the investigation, but maybe they didn't. Maybe it's just a slower process. And again, it's a little bit more daunting. Maybe there's a lot of DNA evidence that they have to process, and it was just a little bit slow going.
I don't. I mean, I don't think it's Monday morning quarterbacking. You are a retired detective. I mean, Dave, you're a retired detective
Mhm.
at the NYPD. I wouldn't call this Monday morning quarterbacking. I would call this, crime scene homicide 101. You may have already processed it, but you've got a woman's blood. Whether you knew it was the woman's there or not, you have forced entry and blood outside of a door. I mean, that's not a trip and fall.
Yeah, yeah. This is the issues we have, and sometimes people, and this is what happens with investigations. Detectives have a mindset. Did this idea to release it come from outside the lead detective? And I will tell you that happens a lot. Sometimes these decisions are not made by the investigators; it's made by executives and higher ups to decide to do this. And it's a paramilitary organization, so we have to abide by what our bosses say, regardless of what it is. We've done this before. We've had homicides in a residence where there's a dead body, and you hold that scene 2, 3, 4, 5 days to make sure everything is done. You're looking for things that are that aren't usually there. That means there's a control with the family. That means you're going to talk to the family. This is what we have in photos, and this is why you talk to them. This is why photo everything up. Speak to them. What is here that's normal, and what is not usually here? Because that's what you're looking for. You look for mistakes. Because as professionals and people make mistakes. I've seen it. I work cases like that. You look for the mistakes. When the police make a mistake, it's 100 times worse, because now you're going backwards. Now you have to reevaluate what you did. And that scene should have been shut down for the last several days. The minute she was reported missing, that was the point, the last place you knew she was, and the people who abducted her were. And there is the only thing you can get. Now, if you get DNA, is that substrate? Do we have do we have a match, a case-to-case match, or do we have an unknown donor? Now, if they do reassess and do the crime scene again, you're going to have other people who are the press there, and prosecution wise, it makes a big mess, because you want to keep this as I talk about as pristine as possible. That scene is as pristine as possible. You have to keep it that way. And the people were there to go there. Then that scene should be sealed off pending the finding of the missing person, because I call it's a special category missing. She doesn't have medication. There's a chance that her demise would happen anytime within that frame. That scene's got to be held, and you're going to have boots on the ground doing what they can. And like I said, it's a big area. You're not going to say there's a lot of technology, but again, this is what we can't depend on technology. Apparently, there were drones. The drones weren't put up right away. They had a plane that could have used. That's neither here nor there. That could have happened. Would that have spotted something? We didn't know what we were looking for. That's the thing. No one knows what they're looking for. You're looking for, and the only thing we're looking for is that residence, is that home, and that is where the opportunity to retrieve any trace evidence got kind of sidetracked and lost in the way for whatever reason, of the release.
Yeah, just to add to that, Dave, it's an affluent neighborhood. They probably got pressure from the community, right? These people pay millions and dollars for their homes, and they don't want this crime scene there. But you know what? Tough shit. We have to process the scene. You're going to have to wait. This is an ongoing investigation. The woman hasn't been found yet. We got to keep this the scene, alive. I'm sorry. And now they're paying for it.
Yeah. And what happens is, now I'm going to say that the police are committed malfeasance by not doing what they're supposed to. We don't know the inner workings. We don't know that. But I will tell you, as Mike would know, the same thing. Scenes, we keep them. But a boss says we're releasing it. I could fight all I want. Then that's a battle that we can't control. We've seen it in other cases where, we've gone to do canvases of buildings, and they're told not to come back because we bother the family, that we bothered these people too much. And those are pressures that you don't see. But let's get back to the case itself. You can feel and you can see they're not looking for proof of life. They're looking for something else. And unfortunately, this is what you're dealing with. The case is not over. The case will continue. The case will further. They will be apprehended at one time. I can't make guarantees on that. And here's another thing, and these are speculations you always put out there. Was this their first time doing this? And that's why, and Mike knows this, we have we have what's called VICAP. They check VICAPs for any abductions in the area. They were hopefully were doing a lot of things like that. They were looking to maybe go to pharmacies and find out what medication she takes and put red flags out there. Anyone flagged any request for that? You have a white van right now, or a white van possibly. Any rentals, any stolen vehicles of that within that area within a certain time frame, because they're not going to use the same vehicle. They're not going to use a vehicle of their own. They may use a vehicle that's been stolen or rented. So these are things you have to think of. And, but everything started at that house. Everything started. It started there. It's not ended there, but it started there. That's why that house is important to maintain and secure.
I agree. And I do kind of wonder if the sheriff was like, well, we got what we need. We processed it. And yeah, we can't really have just cops sitting out there. It is a nice neighborhood. That makes me wonder. I do want it to play what President Trump said on Air Force One last night, because he called Savannah Guthrie earlier this week, said he would offer like full federal resources to assist with this. And this was a comment he made on Air Force One during a gaggle with the press after KOLD-TV, KOLD received this latest note. So let's look at what he said. And I want to get your thoughts on this, because it made it sound like, oh, there may be something in the works, something going on. But now I'm looking at it differently, and I want to know your thoughts. So let's watch.
President promised Savannah Guthrie's family the full support of federal law enforcement. FBI is now.
I'll give you a little statement. I think we're doing very well on that regard. You're probably surprised to hear that. I think we're doing very well, meaning we have some clues, I think, that are very strong, and I think we could have some answers coming up fairly soon.
Is this a nationwide search? Is this going to Mexico?
I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be
Suspect?
Yeah, could be definitive.
So when do you expect us to?
A lot's taken place in the last couple of hours. A lot of things have happened with regard to that horrible situation in the last couple of hours.
President promised Savannah Guthrie's family the full support of federal law.
And he then later said something about a solution. It wasn't in that clip, but he referenced a solution. So what do you make of that comment now? Because I'm assuming he was made aware of the ransom, or the latest note. I don't know if it was really considered a ransom, this latest communication. Maybe he didn't know the full text of the latest communication. He kind of talks off the cuff sometimes. And, what are your thoughts looking at that now, Mike?
When I saw that, it seemed like there was hope, right? It seemed like, like everybody else, they thought that they're close to capturing these abductors, right? They have information that we're not privy to. The president is. We could be all wrong right now, and hopefully she's still alive, but it's not looking good. Like Dave says, there's a lot of moving parts. We have to, we do a thing called a victimology, right? We're going to look at the mom, her history, anybody that, any disputes, any arguments, not only her, we're going to look at the daughter. We're going to look at the brother. We're going to look at Savannah, any threats. They're going to go months to try to figure out what's going on. So it is a big investigation, and maybe we're just not, privy to the information. And, it almost seems hopeless at this point. I hope I'm wrong.
Dave.
Yeah, the president has been apt to say things, and that's nothing. He's the president of the United States. He always will say something, and this is in a positive light. He doesn't know everything. He's not going to know everything. He may be apprised of what they have at that time. That's one thing. But it comes back again. This has been, when they talk about you don't leave any stone unturned, that's what you've been doing this entire case. And the problem has been you have a lot of people involved. The internet sleuths putting things out there. You have, unfortunately, very nefarious, mean, sadistic people putting things out there like ransom notes and threats to the family that aren't no need for this. in a high profile case, is one of the highest profile cases you can have. It's not just national, it's international. You see this. And that puts a lot of load on the case itself, on the investigators. Even though, and this is why that's why bosses get our bosses. They're supposed to run the interference and avoid that. And that's what you're hoping the chief was doing. With this entire investigation. Unfortunately, like I said, I feel for him. I think he has a decent heart. He's a good man. I don't think he had the backing or the support he needed for his press officers in the beginning to be out there and trying to answer all these questions and leak things. And sometimes he leaked things out he shouldn't have leaked. It's just really, it's a 5 to 7 minute, we're investigating this case. It's what we have right now. We know we have some medication. Thank you very much, and walk away. But there's such a need for information. And I will say this, and Mike knows this too. I don't want to tell you everything. If I'm a detective, I'm not telling you everything. I'll tell you some things. I'm not leaking everything out because you don't want to give everyone the information. Because who else is watching these pressers? Possibly the abductors in this, to see what we have and what we're going to give them. So the president will say what the president says. That's what he always does. Very off the cuff remarks. He's very positive in this. We're hoping I'd love to be as positive he is on this. You're still in the reality is this is a case where a missing person who hasn't had the medication for several days, who could have died without it, is still without their medication because we don't know if their medication was ever handed. And that, going back to the third video, from the first video to the last video, you can feel that this is not this is not the end result they wanted. That's why we want a celebration. That's something that, you don't talk about that celebration. We want to hold her again. We want to see her again. A celebration, and, we understand. So that's a big thing. That's, you take that into heart. But detectives are going to still do the work, man. That's what they do. That's what we do. That's the one thing I love about the job is you're going to do it to get the best possible results. Do I get her back safe, healthy? I want that. Do I get the people who committed this crime? I want that. And that's what we want to do. Detectives aren't going to end in this case. It's not going to be over.
Mike, what do you make of the note going first to a local TV station? The local TV station doesn't broadcast it. They turn it over to law enforcement. Then a note goes to TMZ, and TMZ does broadcast it. Then another note goes to K-Gun, a local TV affiliate. Days passed, and then another note goes to a local TV affiliate. Obviously, they're sending it to local TV affiliates. I've seen people comment they think that means this abductor is local within the viewing area. They're going to be seeing it on local television. TMZ obviously has a much broader audience than a local TV station. This is weirdness to me that they're sending these notes to now just local TV. They sent one to TMZ. What is up with this? I mean, what do you make of that? Instead of contacting NBC News, where Savannah works, or contacting Savannah directly?
Yeah, there's a possibility that they are local, and that's why they contacted those news outlets. It could have been frustration on their part. Maybe, they feel like they need a way to contact the family, so they figure they'll send it out to TMZ and to other news outlets. And it worked, right? Maybe they even sent it to the police department. And maybe the police department was just not fast enough to comb through whatever information they're getting. So I think they got the desired result. It was out there. They got communication. It started. It could have been they were panicking, right? Maybe because if Nancy was still alive, maybe her condition was getting worse and they wanted to get whatever money they're asking for as quick as possible before she passes, right? That might have been something that they didn't plan on. Again, you're taking an 84-year-old woman. I don't think this was as carefully planned out as people think. So maybe that's what it was. Her condition was getting worse and they needed a quick way to get it out there, and they did. They got the information. I think that's my theory. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to is here. I'm always about the why. I'm a big why guy. Why didn't you leave the note at the scene in the beginning? Why 2 days after did now you put this note goes out and it goes to the media? We've seen cases, Zodiac killer being one, when they send it to the media and they send it to the press. But it's a different now. The print media, unfortunately, is not as active in these type of things. When I say that, active meaning that they don't send it to newspapers anymore. They send it to the media. They send it to a network news. That's their end. But it comes back to the why. Why did they wait so long to do that? And if you're looking for money, where is the communication? Where is the communication line for that? If you want a transfer of money, you know, you're going to wait 2 or 3 days, because when I say they thought this up, I think they thought the idea was whatever they thought at the time, this was going to work. And then the mistakes happened. Without leaving a note, not leaving a note, a mistake on their part? Because I don't understand the fact that if you want a kind of a hit and run abduction, you have to have some sort of communication started, some communication. And it seems to be the communication has been very one-sided, where they're not able to even, there's no access between the family and the abductors, or the family and the police. You know, when it comes to police and when it comes to these cases, you know, we're going to be on the outside and let the families handle it to a certain point. And if they're going to pay, you know, that's all up to them with that payment. But we're going to find the people who did it. It just comes back to the why. Why that night? Why on the night? And again, Samantha was supposed to go to Italy for the Olympics. You know, these are things that roll in my head. Is why that night? Why not 2 nights ago? Why not 3 nights ago? They drop her off at the house at around 9:30, 9:40. She's in her bed, and apparently 1:30 or so, or 2 o'clock in the morning, something is seen or something's picked up on some sort of motion detector or camera. So now you have from 14 hours, like a 12-hour gap. Then the police come. It's 11 o'clock. They're getting there. She's already been gone. And that's where you put everything out. We have them. We call them silver alerts in New York City. We put an alert out for her. She's a missing special category person. That's in New York. I don't know what Pima County does. I don't know what Tucson PD does, or Phoenix PD. I don't know how they handle when it comes to missing elderly. But they also had nothing to go on other than that she was missing. And that's the problem. There was no other evidence they had available at that time to be able to track down. We have something, because we don't have track marks, because obviously vehicles were in back and forth at that scene. Those are things you look at just to see things out of the ordinary. And I go back, it goes right in my head, the why, and I still can't get as to why some of these things. And anytime I have a why, I need to answer it. And I can't answer as to why there was no note at the scene if you wanted to make this kind of a quick play of money.
I think there was some degree of planning, though. I don't know if you agree, Mike, but I feel there had to be some level of planning, just because the cameras were taken. Not all of them, obviously, but certainly the one on the front door was. Do you think there maybe was just some level of planning and it just didn't go according to plan?
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like it could have been planned, or it could have been, like, again, a home invasion gone bad, right? They could have panicked. She could have been injured right there. She could have been dead on the scene, and they decide to remove her, right? Which makes me think, like, if she was dead on a scene and if this was a stranger case, with me and Dave have responded to hundreds of crime scenes, and they would leave, right? And they'd leave all that evidence, of course. If it's, what they pose, that it could be an inside job, now they have to remove, maybe they decide to remove the body, so no evidence is there. I mean, it's all speculation. I mean, like Dave said, this is what we do. We bounce theories off each other. I don't think it was carefully planned out. You're grabbing an 84-year-old lady that has medication. You could have scoped it out. You could have been scoping out the location. And I can almost guarantee when this case is done, they're going to have video surveillance of people watching her house, watching her church, watching where she was in the supermarket. Almost guaranteed that's going to be revealed later if they don't have it already. So, yeah, minimal planning for sure.
We do have a question, and I'll put some of these questions up right now. Do any of you think this is from Beautiful Messy Ball? Do any of you think that this could have any connection to the teens arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona, same day for home invasion, connected to a $66 million crypto scam? I think I did see that on Twitter. That's kind of interesting. It makes you wonder if there is any connection, because teens, that would be an amateur hour kind of thing.
Yeah, I think when we talk about break-ins, night burglars are the ones I dealt with a lot of burglary cases, but night burglars are the ones I always was afraid of, because those are the guys that are very dangerous, because night burglars tend to do things in the mornings or daytime when people are out. When they're at night, those are the people I think are the worst of the worst, especially when it comes to burglaries, because they're looking for a confrontation when you're dealing with family members. Do I think there's a connection to that? here's the thing that you have to think of also. If you think of burglaries where, you know, if you're talking, we've had burglaries and high-end burglaries where you had crews going to sports figures who were out of town and breaking in and stealing all the property. How are they actually arrested is not by the forensic evidence or the trace evidence. They've been found because they put this all on social media. So that's the thing you have to think of. Was this planned? There is a plan to do something, and what happens is the leaving of that plan. I always go, it's a pre and post incident. The pre-incident is whatever work you're going to do, you do the incident, and then the post is the fleeing of the scene. Are you going to take are you going to take a 150-pound body out of the residence because you committed a burglary and she died? If you're in panic mode, not particularly. That's where we see, and this is where we bang the heads off. Is it possible? That's why we go into all these prior cases or anything like that that's similar to what we have going on there. You look at these things and see anything that's any similarities to that part. But as a burglary, can violence happen? Yes, especially nighttime burglary. Would a nighttime burglar or crew of burglars remove the body to avoid detection? That's a rarity because now you're bringing the crime scene with you. If I'm trying to flee the place as fast as possible, I'm not carrying a body out and then driving that body somewhere to dump the body. And that's, again, this is from the times I've arrested people with burglars. They want to get out of there. If they screwed up, they're getting out of that residence. So you can see it as being an abduction for some reason. I still have an issue with the ransom note. I still wonder, why did it take so long to get one out? Why did they have to send it to 2 media outlets? How did TMZ get it to themselves, or did it get it leaked to TMZ? These are things we have to think of, and that's why, as journalists, you're not going to tell us where you get your sources. That's fine. It would help. It'd be beneficial to us. How'd you get it? Apparently they can't track the email address. Apparently, I don't know. That could be a red herring, throwing that out there. But it still comes back to, why did they wait to put a note? Because either unfortunately you had a person that you abducted that did not survive. You then screwed up with the fact that you did not leave a note on scene. Because that could be, where did you put it down? Because these are things you have to think of, is why wasn't there a note on scene? Why wasn't there? You send it to the media, that's great, but it's 2 days into the fact, knowing they're telling her that she's going to possibly die if she doesn't have medication. And then you put the note out. So
and there was no IP address, or I'm sorry, no, I apologize, no proof of life that we know of in any of these ransom notes.
And that's the concern, is what they received now not a proof of life, but a proof. And that's why you see the difference in emotions for the family. Whereas it was more, we want her back, to, we understand, we just want to celebrate her. We want, almost like saying we want closure. So now they're just going to get information as to maybe where she is. And that secondary scene, if that happens, they find that secondary scene, that never moves. That is going to be top to bottom, wherever, if it's out in the woods or whatever, you're going to make sure that place, you're going to go through that place up and down, so you get something to match any evidence that you've recovered from the house to that location.
Mike, how weird is it that there were 2 different dates for the ransom? There was a Friday deadline, and then there was a Monday deadline.
Yeah, that was odd, right? It's a little wishy-washy. I'm like, why are there deadlines? Why can't it just be one deadline? I thought that was weird. I don't know if they want to give him more time. I don't know. I didn't understand that either. And to Dave's point, maybe they did. Maybe, again, Monday morning quarterback, and maybe PD did have a ransom note already. Maybe they were working on that, and maybe they weren't getting the response. So they wanted to the bad guys wanted to push the envelope. You know what? You're not working fast enough. We're going to send this to the news outlets. That's another possibility.
Taylor Wallace, thank you for the super chat. Nancy takes an Uber to the sister's house. Why not Uber home? He says he sees her walk inside, yet if she can't walk well, why isn't he walking her inside? Well, we don't know the inner workings of that. We know that we haven't seen his specific, this is the brother-in-law. We haven't seen the brother or the son-in-law, brother-in-law, Annie's husband. We haven't seen the specific verbiage that he used with the police. All that we know is that he made sure she got in okay. That's what we've been told by law enforcement. Here's another question. Have you noticed that the sheriff or media isn't telling people to be cautious due to a killer being on the loose. Nobody seems concerned or scared. Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
They've always believed it's a targeted incident. And I think they also don't want to lay the fears that this is a single incident. I guarantee you they worked in making sure there's nothing similar to that around the area. So they've seen, and that might have been because of something they may have understood as being a one-time thing that's going to happen there. And talking about the brother, and I have an aunt who's 90 years old, and I'll say this, that I try to walk her to the door. She hits me. So so
Right.
you
Some
take
people
that,
are
you take
very
that into
independent. Yes.
exactly.
Like, I'm fine. Leave me alone. I've got my
And that's
cane.
as ill or as elderly or maybe as physically infirmed as someone is, especially their age. You could be spunky, you could be that, and that's why when you talk about the injury that she sustained, how the injury took place, that's why it goes right back to the crime scene. What
Yeah.
caused that injury to her? If we determine that's her blood, what was it? Did they leave it at the scene? Do we know they left it at the scene? That's why. And if we couldn't find it, that's why that place is shut down. And you're going outside as far as you can to make that scene. The larger scene you have, the better you have. Because it comes to if there was a weapon involved or an item that she banged her that hit her somehow. We don't know where it got struck, but that blood came out of her. What caused that blood to leave her body? And again, talking sign of like a weird person, but that's what you're thinking of. Because I can't say hit her in the head, hit her in the back, hit her this. How did that blood come out of her? What would have caused
Right.
her blood to be coming out? And that's more than likely, was it a blunt object? Was something on the scene that we've never seen before? And that's why, what is here that does not belong here? And I was a big guy, I went into a burglars. What is here that does not belong here? Oh, I found that. That's something we never had before. Oh, the bottle's removed. These are things that they should be asking those questions to the family. And also, when you talk about victimology, and Mike brought this up too, you're talking about anyone that she dealt with on a regular basis, caretakers, cleaning people, anything she had on a regular basis, because it may not be that person, but it's a tertiary thing. Thinking that this woman has money because she lives in a high-end location. So there's a chance that she could have money. And if she doesn't have the money, someone in her family does.
Well, we know who has the money. That's for sure. She's on TV every morning. So this was definitely, I think, targeted. Mike, what are your thoughts on it definitely being targeted?
I'm up in the air on that one. It could have been targeted. It could have been, again, a bird gone bad. I like to keep it open only because it seemed a little sloppy to me when they ripped the camera off, and it seemed a little sloppy. So I'm not sold on it being completely targeted. Did they target the area? Maybe perhaps it could be. It could be.
Could be. Okay. Let's look at that. I want to look at the timeline really fast. Timeline is January 31st. She goes, it's 5:32. She goes to her family's house. 9:48. Family drops Nancy off at home. Garage door opens. Within 2 minutes, the garage door closes. So, she got in there pretty quickly, I guess. We don't know how, if he pulled in to let her off, how close he pulled in, but an 84-year-old lady could get in there within 2 minutes, I'm assuming. 2 minutes, if you set your timer on your phone, your stopwatch, it's actually a pretty long time. It's not, I don't know. How do you guys feel about 2 minutes?
I don't see a problem with that because, again, how long the door closes. And it's so funny, and this is why detectives do this. My aunt's 90 years old. How she does things the same way. You drop her off near her house. She does not go through her front door. She goes through her garage, and that's how she does it. So these are things you're asking the family. How does she tell me her routine? Tell me how she does things. So, that's the thing about 2 minutes. It seems long, but it also could be the amount of time it took her to decide to close the garage. She might be waving goodbye. We don't know. It's all speculation. We just have a general time frame. But again, it comes back to why that night they leave. She's left alone. I mean, is it targeted or is it a targeted location? Meaning they just see what we have. And all of a sudden it just changes. And Mike, I don't know Mike if knows this. I talked to my students about this case. and just about the missing. And a lot of the students don't even know who Samantha Guthrie is. So when you talk about a younger generation not knowing, really have an understanding, like, oh, I understand, I know now. There's a
Yeah.
difference, and we take this to heart because many people watch today's show and know her as a celebrity and a journalist, and we all see her. But there are people who don't know her. Could this have been, when I talk targeted, a location that they hit, grabbed somebody, screwed up, and went, oh my gosh, we have this person. Holy jeez, what do we do? These are things you have to think of. These are all, again, speculation. Mike and I be banging our heads on this. I don't think that could happen. I don't think it happened. What do we have to close that door on that statement, on that question? That's where the facts come in. And that's really what you're doing now. The timeline gives you an idea of it is, but what are the facts behind the timeline is what we're looking for.
February 1st at 1:47 a.m. the doorbell camera disconnects. 2:12 a.m. the software detects a person on camera, but they don't have the video because she didn't have a subscription, which I don't understand why you have the camera unless you can just see, oh, there's somebody at the front door on your app, but it's not storing the footage because you don't have the subscription. 2:28 a.m. So somebody's on camera at 2:12, 2:28 a.m. The pacemaker app shows disconnect from phone. All that really means, or could mean, I should say, is that she went out of range, but it also could mean something worse. 11:56 a.m. the family checks on her. 12:03. I mean, this was pretty fast. 12:03 they make the 911 call. 12:15 patrol arrives. Mike, what do you think of that part of the timeline?
Yeah, it was pretty fast. I mean, she is an 84-year-old woman. They don't expect her to leave the house without assistance. I would imagine that they would pick her up.
There may have been something in the house where they said, this is weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the software detecting the person. It could have been just temporary. Some cameras store it for a second, alert you, and then of course it's deleted. It's just unusual that that to me doesn't seem planned. Like you would just rip the camera out, right? That to me that seems like after the fact, right? Like Dave said, that they might have panicked. Again, they might have been targeting the location. There was no money. She gave them a fight. They said she's spunky. They might have injured her right there, and maybe they're not pros and they want to remove her. And then now we're getting the ransom. So I'm not really sure. It's a lot to process.
It is. What about neighbors, ring cameras, other footage? We know that they've looked for that, but it's super dark there. And one of my moderators actually looked up the lighting ordinance there in that area, and it's pretty strict. She sent it to me earlier today, but we just haven't touched on that because of this kind of breaking news with the video that Savannah sent out. And so it's really strict about having a lot of lights in that area.
And I have to say, the issues with cameras. I'm sorry. The issues.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah, the issues come with Ring cameras. People think it's going to be an absolute guaranteed home run shot from someone else's camera.
Right.
It doesn't. It only captures what it has. And this is when you bang heads. And this is why we talked about cameras. And I brought it up with my students. This is what we talk about these things because it's what we do is, in this college. And they're like, well, she doesn't have, it only holds it for a day. So the video only holds for a possible day unless you get the subscription. And you may not even know that. I mean, we have Ring cameras. I know people have Ring cameras. They don't even know how to work them. They just put them up and go, does it record? I don't know. Maybe that was something that was an additional thing. They don't record. And even though you go to these houses, you go, they have Ring cameras. They're going to be something. Unless there's a particular infrared type camera. If you have very low lighting, you're not going to get much on it. Is the information you get that from those Ring cameras probative? That's why when they found out about the extra camera on her roof, it's because of someone taking an aerial shot and a neighbor saying her roof seems very clean because we don't have it like that. And then they went and said, look, we have a camera. Would that camera capture anything of value? They're going to be looking at it. And now does it capture? Does it retain the footage? And does it work? That's the next problem or question.
Yeah. Is it too soon to polygraph immediate family? That may have already happened. We don't know.
Mike, Mike, as far as polygraphs, they're useful and then they're not. In New York, they're not admissible in court. They just give you a lead for us.
Yeah,
With
like
that,
an investigative tool. Like they use them because they're not admissible in court anywhere, I don't think.
no, it's been down there since 1938, and all it is it just tells you. So they're lying. Okay,
Yeah.
what's the next step of that? And that's why when we do this, and Mike, I agree this too, we talk to the family in depth. We want to know about everything about your feelings with your family. Everything comes into play, especially this type of investigation. And it's not to lay, I hate the word suspicion, but not to lay a belief that we think you did it. It's just so we can get information to maybe help find who did this. Because whatever engagement you had with somebody was that tertiary engagement that led to this type of situation. And the victimology they've done workups on any type of burglaries like this or any type of abductions like this. It's rare to take someone at this age out of their house, expecting that they're going to survive that situation. Whatever could have happened in that house, they run and leave, and you have what you have there. I just don't understand if you're going to do if you're doing a burglary, you would not take the body out unless you're doing some sort of abduction, because to bring your evidence outside the house, outside there, is unusual. I won't say it's out of the it's impossible. It's unusual for someone to do that.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. What do we do now, or what does the family do? I guess the family, Mike, now all they can do is wait for this person. And I had seen, I believe, a Fox report or some other outlet say that the IP address was scrubbed, which can be done. I'm assuming these might be being sent through the dark web, which they're going to have to go through layers and layers to figure that out. I've kind of referenced this before, but is the family now sending this out because they're like, well, this is how we have to do it? And, this person who has our mom, allegedly, we send out an Instagram video and now we just wait and hope that they contact KOLD with another message. And because I heard that this report that the IP was scrubbed, but allegedly it came from the same server, which I don't understand. And servers can hold, thousands of whatever. So is that what they do, Mike? They just wait to see if this person sends another message to KOLD.
I think all this time, even with this ransom, there's been investigations going on in the background that we don't know about. That statement is just for them to get a quicker resolution. They know that the detectives are working on this. They're trying to do any kind of search, digital footprint, metadata. They're doing all that, but it's probably not going as fast as they want. Now they got this message today that unfortunately, perhaps the woman has passed. Now they just want a quicker resolution. So they're pleading with them. They're offering money. We just want her back. We want to celebrate with her. We want peace. So yeah, that's been happening, in the background. So I think they just want it quicker. They got the bad news, we think, and they want a quicker resolution.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't sound like good news. Let's play this one more time and we'll wrap this up. It's just, I was shocked when I saw this, and seeing this, it makes me think this may be part of the reason there was no press briefing today.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Also, I noticed they're all wearing black.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very telling too, like a mourning color. So now we just wait, guys, right?
Yeah.
What I thought was, I don't know if you guys heard, was there any Crime Stopper tips, any tips from anybody? That's a little bit unusual that I didn't hear anything.
I think they were getting tips,
yeah.
But you know how that goes. A lot of times the tips are not fruitful.
Yeah.
It takes time to go through them.
Yeah. But Mike, you remember too, we used to have a lead book and we write all the leads down, and then we'd have detectives go out on those leads. And I guarantee in this case, you had hundreds of leads, some some worthy, some not worthy, some just way out of off the rails type thing. But you got to go over and talk to those people to clarify it. You can't
Yeah.
just blow it off, especially a case like this, because
Yeah.
there's so many eyes looking at it. Regardless of the eyes looking at it,
Yeah.
the clock was ticking the minute they like does not have her meds. That, and 84 years old, the clock was ticking right then and there. And as fast as they could move, it's just unfortunately not fast enough. It's just, we love to get these things solved and 47 minutes, no commercials. It's been several days. This is unfortunate. It's over a week at this point that we've had this situation, almost a week plus. And it bothers me as a detective that we were not able to get the best results in this. And I think the detectives feel in that way. And Mike probably feels the same way. It would drive me out of my mind to see that I was almost there and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get the results that should happen, which is a return of her safe, happy, healthy, and sound, and the people who did it arrested. And I will tell you, if I'm that detective, I'm not resting until this is done on all ends.
It's really something. Well, guys, thank you so much. I want to Matt Duquette, thank you. Tip, UFI security cameras owned by Anchor provide owner with their own server. You don't need to rely on a cloud subscription. So thanks so much, Dave and Mike, for being here. I really appreciate it. Hope you'll come back another time. Thank you really so much. I will talk with you soon. Thank you. Everybody, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to shout out our new members. We have Cheryl A. of Life Johnson. Welcome, Cheryl. We also have Chuck Anderson, his granddaughter. Welcome. We also have Mutton Chops Nook, Moto Coco ADV, M. Barbarossa, and Mariah _F. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll keep an eye on this. I appreciate you hanging out tonight, getting the very latest. I want to play this video one last time. It is just so awful. It just makes me think.
We received your message and we understand.
Obviously, this video makes me think that they've gotten the message that their mother is no longer here.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Just absolutely heartbreaking. Again, thank you for joining me tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. Please join me another time. I'll be keeping you up to date on this. May see you back here tomorrow. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you for everybody tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a great evening, and we will talk again soon. Take care and keep the Guthrie family in your prayers. Good night.